Guys, Katy says I should explain why I care so much. This is why I care so much. Because having business in the Kent Family Court and believing as I do that there's nothing more important in this world than the importance of kids having a dad, not just a father, but a dad. And, call me a crazy dreamer, the rule of law, something I actually believe in. Defined as cases being decided by application of the relevant facts of the controlling law, independent of personal bias, prejudice, whether you love them, whether you hate them. Okay, I believe in these things. I care so much because nobody has seen, nobody knows, arguably better than me, how a court of law can affect human lives in a negative way, and children's lives no less, through acts of individual corruption, by corruption of that system. No one knows that more than me. There may be some, and I have tremendous sympathy for them. And I've come to know quite a few of those who have had similar experiences. That's why I care so much, because we have a court of law that's not operating as a court of law, and it is hurting human beings, and not just any human beings, but kids and families, and shaping lives forever. That's why I care so much. And would I care about this if it weren't affecting mine? Probably not. But it is. Why do I care so much? Guys, I had the most important things in my life, my children, taken away from me in the span of 5 hours before I even knew about it, without the opportunity to respond, based upon the allegation that I was suicidal, without anyone ever talking to me, all done by a court actor, a guardian ad litem, whatever, whose duty it is to represent the best interest of my kids. Guys, we have a problem here. It shouldn't happen. We all know that shouldn't happen. How does that happen? And if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. If it did happen to me, it's happened to a lot of other people, and I know their names now, and their kids, and their families. Because the same kind of stuff has happened to them. And if it can happen to me and it's happened to them, what is to stop it from happening in the future? Somebody's got to stand up. Somebody's got to speak out. And it has been my intent to do so respectfully and honorably, and to make sure that things are what they are before I allege that they are. And I assure you, with Ms. Lawrence's help, that to the extent that you can conduct experiments to prove corruption, we've conducted them. And to the extent that corruption can be proven by pieces of paper, they are in that room. 1 thing, 2 things, 3 things, maybe a coincidence. 7, 8, 9, that's 10, 11, 12, 19, 20, 30, and 40 examples of the very same thing. Guys, I care so much because that experience, which was to some extent rectified when my kids were returned to me a week later, one of whom has yet to return, despite the judge himself saying over and over again for a year, this is a matter of weeks, this minor disruption. And we should all, as a top priority, get this little girl back to her dad. A daughter, a child, who saw her father every single day, talked to him every single day, virtually without exception, for the first God knows how many years of her life, and who spent roughly half her post-divorce, half of her time after her parents got divorced 5 or 6 years ago with her dad, and who had a really good relationship with him, albeit in private. 1 year later, having gone for a full year, somehow seeing that father 8 hours a month, desperately stuck in the middle with a court-appointed so-called advocate, no less, doing jack frickin' diddly besides file the motions for his fees and about his fragile ego, and committing flagrant malpractice, which we'll get to, buddy, at some point. Doing nothing. And all of these people allowing this to happen. Why do I care so much? Because I'm the father of a little girl who lost her dad because of the Katy County Family Court. And for other reasons that nobody wants to hear. But how about that one? My kids will never be the same. My kids learned in one moment in a week that their relationship with one of their parents was so fragile it could be taken away in a heartbeat. And everyone would love to think that, well, all's well that ends well. Kids came back. By the way, my kids were removed from me because I was allegedly suicidal. No one even talked to me. I was literally in this conference room the entire time. I thought people were joking. I played golf in a golf outing that afternoon with dozens of people. Nor does it even make sense, given that if I am a mental defect, much less suicidal, all of the very important people that put their lives in my hands all the time probably ought to know that, and of all people would. Not to mention the fact that the people that depend on me for their livelihood and income and to run this business, but makes that could happen in a court of law, and that those kids would be forever jarred. It should never happen. This is also something that should never happen. I should not have motions pending before a court that haven't been heard in 2.5 years. The very same business brought before the court by me or others should not go ignored. Emails sent to a court and the relevant parties should not be ignored until the relief which is sought by that business can no longer be had, even while the exact same business, but the exact same things, the exact same circumstances, is handled with tremendous alacrity and priority basis by certain privileged lawyers. And if you grant preferential status to people, to lawyers, you grant preferential status to their clients. Not everyone is treated equal down there. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've proved it with my own experiments with Miss Lawrence's help, and there is ample proof sitting in that room over there. Not to mention the fact that the court itself defied the time and space continuum in doing the unthinkable by somehow being the first court in the history of man to prove, by virtue of the date on an order, that the outcome of certain very important proceedings were decided in advance, something that could not otherwise be proved, but for the fact that on April 5th an order was issued that necessarily could not have. You can't write a 20-page opinion in one day, guys, much less read people's briefs, much less seriously consider their arguments, much less research legal authorities, much less look at the 10,000 plus documents admitted into evidence. Come on. It's insulting. It's insulting to parents. It's insulting to the judiciary. It's insulting to the concept of justice. That's why I care. I care because it makes a mockery of our judicial system to an extent that I have never in my life seen. And I have come to see that this is widely understood, that the things that I am saying right now are believed by countless others who, for various reasons, no fault of their own, are not in a position to stand up and say, this is wrong, and to take on certain people who have power and who will wield it. And I guess I'm just cut from a different cloth. And I guess Miss Lawrence is too. Why do I care? Because people who are engaging in corrupt behavior that affect the lives of human beings need to be stopped. And the corruption occurring in the dark needs to be brought into the light so that others can see it. And if, after all, it is not reprehensible, what is there to hide? Tremendous efforts of a kind I never could have foreseen. Tremendous pressure, tremendous acts of intimidation, savage, barbaric, subhuman behavior of a kind that I truly, very truly, could never have conceived of a human being perpetrating, much less a professional, much less a member of the bar, much less a judicial actor operating pursuant to a constitutional oath, have been perpetrated against myself and Miss Lawrence. Things that I didn't even understand. Guys, I'm not this relevant. I'm not this special. And as much as I think of Miss Lawrence, she probably isn't either. And yet here we are. And yet here we are. And we will not go. Why do I care? Because I have conversations and see faces and kids of people who have had similar experience and whose lives have been felled and materially impacted by the corrupt behavior of a few who continue to act corruptly. Why do I care? Because I look at my kids all the time and see how they're different now that the Kenton County Family Court System has had their way with them. I know the people that have come before, and I'm well aware of the people who will come after, who, if someone does not do something about this and stand up for what's right and name names and bring into the public domain to shed light on the wrongs being perpetrated in the dark, if no one does this, how do we stay silent? How do we stay still? How do we not talk? How do we not put videos on Facebook? Well, then why not go to the judge? Well, that's the thing about a corrupt court. The corrupt actors at the court have a way of burying those emotions, killing them, all kinds of little tricks and maneuvers that regulate the information flow to the judge, who I believe to this day is a decent man, and if he understood 10% of what was going on, would act swiftly and decisively to end it, and who in the end may bear responsibility, fairly or unfairly, for the actions of those operating under his authority on a daily basis, committing acts of corruption. I don't say that lightly. Why do I care? Because countless human lives have been damaged, and it matters too much to me. That's why I care. That's what this is about, and that's why we fight. I have come, along with Miss Lawrence, who had some background in family law before I did, to find myself the unwitting and reluctant, serious, savage, experienced practitioner of family law. I have had to learn it, to know it, to study it. Because how do you bring down those who are corrupt and who fight the rule of law? You master that rule of law. You commit to it and you shove it down their face. And we're in the process. It'll be fine. We will legal and moral duty. Why do I care? Because I care about others. Because I care about kids. Because I care about, frankly, my own constitutional rights. And it's a laughing stock and a joke, and it needs to change. Who are the people responsible for doing this? And what are they doing? Stephanie Dietz and Al Skies. If I am wrong about that, I should suffer every consequence that comes with being wrong about that. I have studied my legal and ethical duties a lot. And whatever the basis for that statement, it is not reckless. But the fact of the matter is, as a moral matter, I believe that statement should not come out of my mouth unless I am 100% certain and 100% can prove beyond all doubt that is the case. And I can't. So, if I'm right, what to do? Speak it. Speak the truth. Put it in the public domain. Put it out there for all of those who may or may not be interested to take off the shelf or not. For those who are interested, and there appear to be many, to provide their own evidence, to be inspired to stand up and tell their own stories, and to reluctantly and quietly come out of the shadows and understand that they need not be the tip of the spear, but they can be part of the mob that storms the palace, that throws back the curtain, storms the gates, and slays the beast, and kills the king, and that they too can have the part of the magnificent bounty of the new regime predicated on the rule of law, where we do not give special treatment to special lawyers and special litigants, where we hear everybody's motions equally, where we tend to the very same business put before the court in an even-handed way consistent with the basic notions of justice and the rule of law, and where the outcomes of cases and the constitutional rights of the parties are decided on the basis of the law, and nothing more, nothing less. I am pretty sure that I speak for Ms. Lawrence as well when I say these things. And so, you asked, and that's our answer. And if it's wrong, every consequence that comes with being wrong should be borne by me and me alone, and not Ms. Lawrence. And if we are right, something should be done about this. And those, like me, in a position to do something should stand up, speak out, and put it on Facebook. That's why I care, homie. You know where I am. You know what I do. You know where I stand. And you always will. Thank you, and have a good night.